Beautiful. Please, a resounding round of applause for the Gas Brigade Silent Drill Platoon. The formation just adopted there is 6-4, symbolizes Nigeria's 64th Independence Day Anniversary Parade Year 2024. Please, another resounding round of applause for the Silent Drill Platoon of Gas Brigade Nigerian Army for that beautiful formation adopted there. Thank you. And once again, compliment being paid to the special guest of honor, signaling the end of their display today, the first day of October, year 2024. Please, a round of applause for the Gas Brigade Silent Drill Platoon. Thank you. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is still the 64th Independence Anniversary celebration of our dear country, Nigeria, happening here live at the forecourt of the Presidential Villa. What we just witnessed was a display by the Silent Drill Platoon of Gas Brigade Nigerian Army. We also trust you to know that the Silent Drill Platoon has also performed at the Royal Edinburgh Military Tattoo in Scotland, United Kingdom, in the year 2019. End of the performance by the Gas Brigade Silent Drill Platoon, they are now marching in slow time to marry up with the guards that they detached from earlier before the commencement of the display. This is to enable them pave way for the performance by the mass band and the cultural troupe. Thank you very much, Gas Brigade Silent Drill Platoon. Next on our program will be
what you see on the screen now are sight and sound of the Independence Day march going on at Eagle Square in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. At the Presidential Villa, I beg your pardon, in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory of Nigeria. And of course, it's been a very beautiful celebration going forward, even though some individuals will beg to differ, and we'll go into that very shortly. But in the meantime, these are the sights and sounds. And of course, you can see certain women putting on the unity fabric of Nigeria. Yes, the unity fabric. Whatever makes you sleep at night.
We like the word Ankara. We love it. It's a good initiative. And well, I thought it was very interesting for the First Lady to actually take something that's very central to Nigerian tradition and use it as a symbol for celebration, especially on the 64th birthday for our country.
It looks beautiful and all, but then again, is that the priority? That's what a lot of Nigerians are asking. Why is this coming up now? Why is it even coming up at all, looking at the economic situation of the country and what people are going through at the moment?
I will say that we are going through so much. That's agreed. However, if we keep thinking about just the suffering, we'll let a lot of, little things that could have been enjoyed go past us. And this is one moment, I think that little initiative by the First Lady is something we should celebrate. I think, hey, let's just give it. Let's give it to her.
Well, touche, but then again, if you look around us, it's only those in the Presidential Villa putting on this unity. I mean, where else are we finding this unity fabric that we so speak of?
I see. I get you. I get you, however. That is to be considered. But however, I also want to focus on the beautiful procession that's going on right now with the cadets actually from before in the red and green. I thought that was very interesting. And I remember back in the days, the celebration for independence used to be a big thing to look out for, especially as primary school kids who would be taken all the way over to the race course here in Lagos just to go see the match passes and they were very beautiful. What we have here today is nothing compared to what the Koreans would do, but then...
Don't even bring, that's not, we're not in that WhatsApp group.
It's all right.
But then again, I mean, I do agree with what you said. Gone are those days when we didn't only look forward to what's happening at the presidential villa or at the Eagle Square. We had our own celebrations in different stadiums, even with young children going to stadiums to march, and we had, you know, princes and princesses and kings of different schools, and we had, you know, the awards giving out. So it was a beautiful celebration. Not to say that this isn't, but then again, people just miss those days when everyone was a part of it.
I guess it's austere because from the president's speech this morning, I mean, we are going through a system or a state here in Nigeria, so everything has to be low-key now. Perhaps this is a reflection of what we're seeing now with the procession going on. But however, congratulations to Nigeria on a special day for the 64th independence. And it's, what, a quarter of a century since, what do you call it now, a democracy here in Nigeria. As a beacon for democracy, I think this is a good way to celebrate by the government. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, I would say so-so.
There is no umph in that. Oh dear. Well, I do believe that we have a guest joining us very soon, and that is Precious Oruche, renowned human rights activist, and also we're going to be joined by David Hundeyin, an investigative journalist we've had so many times here on the show. Their insight will help us unravel what's going on with the protests that we're seeing across Nigeria that's been happening. The Fearless in October has commenced in certain parts of the country, in Abuja and here in Lagos, if I'm not mistaken, in Ikeja. We'll be bringing you details about that as we go. But first, let's welcome Precious on. Precious, good morning. Good to have you on the show this morning with us.
Good morning, Precious. I think your device is muted. Could you try that again?
There you go. We're hoping that we have Precious on with us. If she can...
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes,
yes,
we can
loud
now.
and clear. Thank you
much.
so much, Precious, for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, New Central. It's
Good.
good to be here.
It's such a pleasure to have you join us on this very special day. Happy Independence Day, Precious.
There's nothing to be happy about.
Okay, great. I was expecting that response because that's where my question was coming from. Now, a lot of disgruntled Nigerians have actually tagged today the day of survival, right? And I would like to get your view on that. You know, we do know that there is a protest that is supposed to be going on today as well. So I would just like to ask, what is the genesis? What is the reason for the disgruntlement and the protest that we're expecting today? What do you think?
Okay, personally, I'd say that myself, Precious Oruche, is not part of the organizers of any protests, right? I don't know, nobody has called me to join for any protest. It's not as though I'm usually called, but I want to categorically say that any protest that would bring the attention of government to the plight of Nigerians is well supported by me. That's to say, if I step outside my house after this interview and I see a chunk of people protesting about what's going on in the country, I will gladly join. You know, we are merely existing in Nigeria. Survivor is overhyped. We are just existing. The country is thinking. And so whatever protests you see happening across the country is fully supported by any well-meaning Nigerian. They have our prayers and they have our blessings. Nigeria is sinking not just into the ocean, but into the pockets of a few. And that's why you see them on the streets today chanting, crying, literally, for survival. There's nothing to celebrate about independence. Independence is a scam in Nigeria.
Precious, let's talk about the protests from before. But I'm aware that we have Hundeyin currently. Let's welcome Hundeyin in. David Hundeyin, you're welcome. Good to join us here today. Thank you very much. Do we have Hundeyin? Well, I'm going to continue with my question to you, Precious. Now, Precious, let's talk about the protest from before. The End Bad Governance protest from August was a very big one. And the country, the government actually reacted to it in certain ways from days before the protest, in fact, weeks before the protest. And they had certain key motivations for that protest. It was to tell about the discontent when it comes to governance, insecurity, poor governance, focus on issues and policies that were not making life easy for Nigerians. Security was another one. And this gained momentum as we approached. They also had demands for the release of End SARS protesters and all of that. But now today, we have the Fearless in October protest, which I think has kicked off somewhere in Abuja and also here in Lagos. And I'm wondering if there was any difference, if you noticed any difference in the government's approach or attention toward the protest for today. Did you see or observe any difference in body language or attention for this protest? And what does that mean? What is the impact of that attention or lack thereof?
There's no difference. There's never been difference in government's body language towards protesters. All they intend or they try to do is to silence protesters, is to threaten protesters, is to arrest protesters. It's been the modus operandi of government. So I'm not surprised, and I will not be surprised if government don't react to the protesters. The End Bad Governance protest was a success because it was one protest that caused the bluff of the government. They did everything possible to make sure that people will not come outside, which is exactly one of the reasons why I came out. Because if you shut up protesters like you shut up the National Assembly, the Senate, then Nigeria is finished. So back to your question, the body language of the government, as usual, has been threat, has been intimidation, and it's still the same thing. Nothing has changed. And that's why I'll go back again to say democracy is a scam. There's nothing to celebrate about the independence of Nigeria. So whatever you saw happen during the End Bad Governance protest is the same thing that is likely going to happen today if the Fearless October protest continues. So that's just it.
Okay.
But regardless, we still move.
All right, thank you for that, Precious. I'm going to come back to you, but very quickly, I hear that we have David Hundeyin back with us online. David, thank you for joining us. Can you confirm that you can hear us, please?
Yes, I can.
Great.
All right, great. It's great to have you join us on this special broadcast. It's the Independence Day broadcast, and we're just having the conversation with Precious earlier, and Precious did make it crystal clear that she's not a part of the organizers of the intending protest today. We're still trying to see if the protest has started. But David, I want to take us back a little to the End Bad Governance protest and the protest before that and the one that is even to come. One thing that a lot of people are hammering on in these protests are the key demands. You know, some of the demands are, of course, the bad governance must stop. Some people who have been detained unlawfully have to be released. So I would like for you to speak on that. What do you think the people really need? Why do you think that they're lending their voices to these calls? And what are the possible implications if the voices of the people are not heard? Because we've had this protest over and over again, and we haven't really recorded a lot of, there's been minimal change. So what would we make of that?
Well, as far as it's possible to tell, the government appears to have adopted the posture that it has figured out how to deal with Nigerians, has figured out how to deal with the people, and its tactic for dealing with people is basically to just ignore them. As far as it's possible to tell, even these protests that are supposed to have kicked off today, the total lack of state reaction that appears to have been the case seems to indicate to me that going back to the protest that we saw in August, it appears that the lesson that the government took away from that is that the Nigerian people can be and have been defeated. That appears to be the posture the government has adopted. So as far as it's possible to tell, it's actually in the hands of the Nigerian people to actually show whether there's any sort of consequence, as you put it, for their demands not being heard. Because right now, at present, the Nigerian state or the Nigerian government establishment believes that it has Nigerians exactly where it wants them. It believes that the critical mass of anger that is needed to actually spur genuine action across Nigeria has not been breached yet. It believes that it still has the narrative capacity to keep Nigerians divided and distracted with a myriad of things. So if it's not the constant, ethnic and religious divisions which are artificially inserted into public discourse using, their social media apparatchiks and things like that, then it's the insertion of sort of fifth columnists, entities and elements into public discourse in Nigeria who masquerade as being part of some anti-establishment sort of movement, but are actually part of the establishment themselves. And so far, it seems that the Nigerian people have fallen for these things and keep on falling for these things and have no intention of not falling for these things in the future. So unfortunately, as it stands, the Nigerian state appears to have the upper hand. So it's entirely up to the Nigerian people to demonstrate that they actually have the capacity to even make a government reconsider why it should even listen to them. Because presently, if I were the Nigerian government and I had the agenda that I have, which is not necessarily in alignment with the agenda that the people would like for me to have for them, and then there's this total absence of public engagement, total dislocation of engagement in the Nigerian public space, and the people haven't still cottoned on to the basic facts that I am the one that needs to be tackled and not each other. Well, then that means I have them exactly where I want them, and that means that there's no reason for me to stop what I'm doing. The only reason that I'll stop what I'm doing is if the people give me a reason. The people have not given the government a reason. So unfortunately, I don't see any end in sight. I don't think the Nigerian government is going to stop doing what it has, figured out how to do, which is basically just aggressively ignore this thing and watch it fizzle into nothingness until the people decide that they don't want to be treated with that kind of levity. It's going to keep on happening.
Okay. David, very interesting the way you put it, a total lack of state reaction. And I'm going to come back to you, Precious, on that one. When we get back, because we're going to go on a very short break now, but Precious, have that in mind regarding the lack of attention from the government. And I want to take that and put it to the call for today being a National Day of Survival. Am I correct? That's what, National Day of Survival for October 1st.
Yes.
Only when we get back, do stay tuned. Welcome back. It's still our Independence Day special broadcast here at News Central. Myself, Mazino Appeal, and of course we have with us Blessings Masugu. And together we're bringing you, at least till the end of this hour, all the proceedings happening across the country. And we've got guests here with us. We have Precious and of course David still with us as we discuss the current affairs of Nigeria at 64. Now, Precious, before we went on a break, David said something about the lack of state reaction when it comes to the present protest for October 1st. There's a call by the protesters to actually make today a National Day of Survival. Now, that's a very contrasting statement to a celebration that has been 64 years in the making. To ask for today to now be turned to a survival day, that tells that the people are actually angry or, well, they need something that they're requesting for from the governments, and using that day, that very special day, to request for National Day of Survival. What's the symbolism here, if I may ask you, Precious? What do you think, your view?
Failure of government. That's what it symbolizes. That the government has failed woefully. You are celebrating Independence Day. People cannot afford food. An average Nigerian cannot afford 3 square meals. They are protesting and you are ignoring them. Yes, you claim you are celebrating independence. Huh? It is a miracle that people are not even protesting on a daily basis. The government of Nigeria is docile. Somebody needs to tell them. And that is what the protesters are out there saying. What David said about the silence, the aggressive silence from government is just to show you how rotten the Nigerian government is, the Nigerian state is. And of course, they feel they have upper hands because you see apathy from people coming out to protest. People don't want to come outside. They've been able to spread tribal issues, religious issues. They've been able to spread hate amongst ourselves. We are literally fighting ourselves instead of fighting these people. That's why you see that the weight that is needed to push these people to do something for us is not being seen.
All right, Precious,
so
thank you.
everything boils down to failure from the government, an extremely failed government.
Okay, thank you so much, Precious, for that. Talking about the failed governance, I'm going to come to David very shortly, but that's after we join one of our correspondents, Bettina Umweli, who is live right now at Ojota in Lagos State, where the protest seems to have kicked off, however peacefully. So we're going to join Bettina to find out what the update is and how it's going so far. Bettina, thank you so much for joining us. How is it going over there?
Well, the people have laid their complaints, Blessings, and a lot of people have had their say at the protest ground here in Ojota, telling the government on how they are not happy, even as today is the 64th independence of Nigeria. Now, we had a walk all the way from Ikeja Underbridge down here to the Gani Park at Ojota, and a lot of people, you can see a lot of security behind me, and also citizens of Nigeria who have come out en masse to express their sadness towards what is going on with the economy and the nation. There are a couple of people here. I will try to reach out to one or two to see who is willing to speak on what they think about today's Independence Day and what is happening in the country. Good morning, sir. Please tell us your names.
My name is Peter.
Peter what?
Peter Udo.
All right, sir. Tell us, today is Nigeria's 64th independence. How are you feeling today about the country?
I'm not feeling too good though. Everything is getting hard now. Like now, I'm trekked from Oyota, from my Maryland to my 12. I want to enter motor from Maryland. They told me it's 500 now, so I have to use my leg to trek to risk it to. So everything is too hard. Fuel now, we buy fuel per liter 120. Now fuel is 868 naira per liter. So where are we going? School fees is I have 2 kids. Before I was paying their school fees 70,000 now, 2 of them 70. Now it's 120. I was paying 100,000. Now it's 150. How much is my salary? My salary is 50,000 per month. So where are we going? The salary is not enough. Everything is too hard.
All right, you heard it from our fellow Nigerian here. Everything is hard. We have another person here. Let's speak to him and find out how he's feeling about today's independence in Nigeria. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
Please tell us your names.
My name is Eddie Bassi. Well, I came here today for the protest. Today being the 1st of October. It don't look like on the 1st. This is just independent. This is, in fact, we are facing hell in Nigeria. Things are not working well. You know, so transport yourself from one place to another in Nigeria here is quite difficult. So I don't think this country is going on well. So we have to end bad governance now. We have to start now. Sacrifice all you've got for this country today. You know, I don't know what to say, but at least we need to do something.
All right, sir, let me ask you quickly. Do you think, because this is like the third protest we are having here in Lagos, Nigeria, since the year started, do you think this protest is going to make a change or any difference whatsoever when it comes to the economic downpour of the country?
This protest cannot make any change, ma. Men looking at it, if you look, just take a view at what's going on. The last time we came here during Jonathan, this place was filled up. Now, in this government now, look at how spacious this place is. There's space everywhere. You can run through, you can drive through. But the Jonathan time, there was no space to run, there was no space to drive. All filled up. But now this is a protest. There's people just standing, doing nothing. There's no change here. Nothing is happening. No heat. Nothing. It's not even hitting the country. Not even hitting Lagos as well. So there's no change. It can't even change anything at all. That's it. Thank you.
All right, so you've heard it from fellow Nigerians on expressing how they feel about the 64th independence of the country today. We still have a swarm of police officers making sure that law and order is maintained here at this park. And we are hoping that, you know, the government will hear the cry of the people, because people are complaining bitterly. Food is not cheap in any way. School fees, you know, parents are having to pay school fees, having to take care of house rents, having to take care of health care. The list is endless. And they are also clamoring for the release of, you know, arrested protesters in past protests, as well as journalists who were arrested for treason. That's what I have for now, Blessings. We'll continue to bring you more updates as the day proceeds.
Bettina, we were going to ask you one little question here regarding the president's speech from this morning. The president actually said that there was going to be a national youth conference that was going to be called, and for the next 30 days. So the question I would like you to ask, maybe ask some of the protesters there, is are they willing to wait for these 30 days to elapse before they see or before they give a reaction, or are they just going to continue with the protests anyway? Bettina?
Mazino, can you come with the question again? Are they willing to do what?
All right, so I'm talking about the president's speech from this morning where he talked about the National Youth Conference that will be called for the next 30 days. And I'm asking if the protesters are willing to wait these 30 days out to see the outcome of the youth conference, or if they're going to disregard what the president asked for this morning.
Well, I cannot speak on behalf of the protesters, but I do know that the presidency has been asking Nigerians to wait since they got into power. You know, the first thing that the president said when he got into power was that subsidy was gone, and that was the beginning, or will I say allegedly the beginning of the woes of Nigerians. And then ever since, for every time he has spoken to the nation, he keeps saying, oh, you know, wait for this, wait for that, have patience. And I do think that the patience of the people are running out, because if not, why do we have so many officers here trying to maintain order? Of course, they say a hungry man is an angry man. So when you see a lot of security on ground, and then you see people and protesters coming out of their homes, leaving the public holiday where they should be resting to come out to protest, then you should know that they are tired of waiting. So I cannot answer whether they would want to wait, but I can tell you for a fact that with the numbers that I'm seeing on the streets and with the people that I have spoken to, Nigerians are definitely tired.
All right, Bettina, thank you so much, and great one with the breakdown. Please do stay safe. We'll definitely be looking to you for more information on the process that has kick-started in Ojota. And for those who do not know, if you remember that the disgruntled Nigerians have tagged today the National Day of Survival because, of course, of the economic situation of the country. So they're refusing to say that there is something to celebrate about independence, but rather they're going out on the street. And as you can see, it has started peacefully, and we hope that it continues as peaceful as it started. And that was Bettina Nweli live from Ojota, where the protest has started. And of course, we have our correspondents scattered across the state as well, who are ready to give us the updates as soon as the protests start. Now, we still have our guests with us who have been talking about the present situation, the economic situation of the country, and of course, the discussions centered around the protests so far. We still have Precious Oruche, a renowned human rights activist, and of course, David Hundeyin with us in joining us to discuss this. David Hundeyin is an investigative journalist. And before we joined Bettina, I did say that I was going to ask David this question. Now, David, I know that for you personally, you've had a target on your back for a long time. We've seen situations where you've come out to, decry some of the threats that you've received, some of the targets basically that you have experienced. And this seems a little scary for a lot of Nigerians. Over time, we've heard people say, oh, Nigerians are not strong enough to fight for what they believe in. Nigerians are not like other country citizens where when they push them to the wall, they fight back, But a lot of Nigerians would argue that you can only be passionate about a country that has a hope for change. There's only so much that you can do as a citizen where you see that the government does not listen to you. Those who are, in the leadership position do not even care about the concerns of the people. So my question is, do you think that it's because of our lack of readiness to fight that we're still in this position? Or do you think that there is not much we can do than we already are doing?
So my position has always been that Nigerians have the power to do whatever it is they decide to do whenever they decide to do it. So this learned helplessness that Nigerians suffer from is, I think, one of the most debilitating legacies of having been colonized, where people have become convinced that they are not powerful, that there is some extraneous entity called the government, which gets to do whatever it wants to them, and nobody can do anything about it. In actual fact, it's the people who are sovereign. The people have the power to do whatever they want. The problem, the reason why Nigerians consistently refuse to fight for what they claim to believe in is because Nigerians have refused to take ownership of Nigeria. And that comes from this fundamentally wrong-headed idea that Nigeria is is the idea of Nigeria somehow doesn't connect with me. So I am not Nigerian. I am something else before I'm Nigerian. I belong to my family or my religion or my ethnic group, or I have this other identity. Maybe I have a second passport. So to most Nigerians, unfortunately, Nigeria is just some sort of marketplace where you are just forced to try and earn a living until you can hopefully run away to your real to your real home somewhere in the UK or Canada or wherever it is that you end up if you're lucky. But the two reasons why this is very wrong-headed are the first reason, 99% of Nigerians statistically will never even leave Nigeria. Statistically, most people who are born in Nigeria will die in Nigeria without ever leaving the country's borders even once, which can only logically then mean that if you are going to be geographically prevented from leaving this place by virtue of the economics of having been born in Nigeria, then you might as well fight for that place that you are geographically confined to become a better place. It's not as if you have a choice. It's not as if you can do anything about it. And then the second reason is that for those who think they're lucky enough to even get out, the outside world unfortunately isn't very accommodating either, especially now where, as you're aware, a lot of the so-called Western world is having this very pronounced rightward drift towards sort of far-right anti-immigration ideas, where at some point in our lifetime, it's not even going to matter whether you have a red British passport or an American green card, whatever it is you think you have. At some point in our lifetime, there's going to be a huge reset, and all of us who think, well, we're in the diaspora, so we don't really care. We're isolated from what's going. We're insulated from what's going on. We are all going to be bundled back to where we're coming from. It's going to happen, including those who weren't even born in Nigeria. So this idea that you can go through life without looking your problem in the eye, without taking ownership of the country that you belong to, the country that you were born in, or that your parents were born in, and you think that there's a way to escape from it, well, it's just fundamentally not true, right? So I'm not, obviously, because I'm not a religious person. So if there are a few thoughts that I have, which if I express them, they're going to come across like, well, the atheist guy is bashing religion. So I'm going to resist the temptation to say some of these things. But suffice to say that a lot of this wrong-headed idea that you can go through life without taking ownership of your problem and fixing it comes from the religious doctrines that people are taught right from childhood. These religious doctrines that teach you that there are ways that your problems can be solved without you being the one to solve it. There is some extraneous entity from somewhere who is going to do it for you because you prayed, and that's how it works. And they're based on some scripture in some holy book that some so and so allegedly happened 2,000 years ago. So something miraculous is also going to happen. And the evidence in front of your eyes, the 6+ going on 7 decades of evidence in front of our eyes, the 6+ decades of Nigeria as an independent country shows us that there's no miracle coming from anywhere. There is just none. We're going to have, if you believe in something or you claim to believe in something, you claim to have a vision, you have to fight for it. When it is said that you have to be the change that you want to see in the world, that's not just a nice soundbite, it's a fact. So in my case, where you reference the fact that I live in a very, strange security situation, that's a direct consequence of me choosing to take ownership of my situation. I'm not running from the fact that I'm Nigerian. I'm not running from the fact that I'm African. I'm not running from the fact that Nigeria and Africa have immense structural, governance and economic issues. I'm not running from these things. I'm not trying to become a British person or an American or a Canadian, because these are temporary identities that somebody's going to take away from me or from my children anyway, right? And this is not just a thing that I'm saying. This is a fact. If you're in the UK or in Europe or whatever citizenship you have there is a second-class citizenship. It can and will be taken away. It's a fact. It's going to happen. It's already happened in some cases. In the UK, for example, the precedent that was set by this Shemaima Begum case is that if you have a grandparent, not even a parent, a grandparent who came from another country, who immigrated to the UK from another country, and you do something which is deemed to be against the national interests of the UK, you can and will be stripped of your UK citizenship, because the fact that you have a grandparent who was an immigrant means that you're entitled to another citizenship, even if you have never been to that country before, which was the case with Shamama Begum. She had never been to Bangladesh, and she was effectively deported to a country she had never been to in her life. That's the reality of being an immigrant in the first world. You can and will be bundled away. So people need to take ownership of the problem that is Nigeria. It's a problem. Stop trying to escape from it. Stop coming up with escapist ideas that, oh, let's break it up, and then one Ududua or one Biafra is going to be the solution to the problem, or there's one church doctrine or mosque doctrine that's going to be the solution to the problem because there's a miracle coming, or there's one charismatic leader. There is no miracle. There's no charismatic leader. There is no visually spectacular solution that is coming from anywhere. The only solution that will come is when Nigerians come together and decide that they want a better life, and then they take political action in line with that conviction. It's as simple as that. It's not easy, but it's a straightforward process. So whenever Nigerians are ready, we will know.
First of all, I wanted to say thank you for that very short lesson on religion and the impact on Nigerian democracy. Very interesting there. And if you had asked me from before now, I would have thought that everybody in the diaspora was actually lucky. But with this grim picture you paint of people being repatriated back eventually, I don't know. But we'll talk about that on a lesser date. I want to come back to Precious. Now, Precious, I had asked Bettina, our correspondent, earlier about the 30-day youth conference that the president called for. During the president's speech this morning, he actually talked about, very interestingly, he acknowledged the suffering that Nigerians are going through, the hardship, the unemployment, and he asked that, he told that he and the government were committed to alleviating the pain that Nigerians are going through. And he asked for 30 days for this National Youth Conference to commence. And I had asked Bettina if the protesters were willing to wait for all 30 days. Well, she couldn't get anybody at that time. But what do you think about these 30 days that the president has called for, the National Youth Conference, and the protesters' response? What could it be, or what is it at the moment? Precious.
I'm trying. I'm taking a minute. I'm trying not to lose my cool. I'm trying to stay corporate. Who's going to attend this conference? Who are the youths? They say his speech read that the youth makes up 60% of the population in the country. So where is this conference going to happen? Or are they going to select their children, their essays and SSAs, and then tag them to youths? Who is going to attend? Like Oga David said, when the youths are ready, the government will know. The youths themselves will know. But I'm going to put it out here once and for all. Dialogue with the government is calm. In case you've not heard it, in case you don't know, in case you are contemplating, in case you've been brainwashed, know it that you heard it from me. Dialogue with Nigerian government is calm. Tell me the dialogue that youths have ever had with Nigerian government that brought light. That the facts of the meeting came to reality. What happened to the panel reports from the NSAS police brutality panel that was set up? I was part of the panel in Edo State. We submitted reports. What happened? Where's the white paper? So I'm going to put it out here. If there's going to be a protest, let that protest continue. Although I'm aware and I know in my heart of hearts that this is not the protest that will turn Nigeria around. This is just a warm-up call. That protest that we push these people away from their comfort zone, away from their houses and villas is coming. Back to your question, the conference, whatever they want to do, is for themselves. It's not for the poor masses. Whatever you are doing that is not affecting the poor masses, that is not alleviating pain, that is not directly in contact with your citizens, is calm. We need to tell these people the way they are. All right, thank you.
All right, just take a deep breath, Precious. I can understand the frustration, and of course, I can feel the passion in your voice. But very quickly for the viewers, I'd like to give a quick recap. It's still the special broadcast, special Independence Day broadcast live here at News Central Television. This is where you get all of the updates on the Independence Day celebration. And of course, we've had a very lengthy and extensive and comprehensive conversation about the Independence Day celebration. We've talked about the past, the governance, the economic situation of Nigeria, and we've seen the parade, which is still ongoing at the presidential villa. We had our guests in the first half where we had a conversation about the past and governance, Nnamdi Chieku and Sam Karbo. And at the presidential villa, there is also a colorful display of the Unity fabric, which Mazino called Unity Ankara. Okay, we'll take that as well. And we also did have Bettina, who joined us from Ojota, where the protest has started. But right now, we also hear that the protest has started in the Federal Capital Territory, and we have our correspondent live there as well. I remember saying that we have our correspondents scattered across the state. We have Emmanuel Bagudu currently in Abuja on the protest ground, who will be giving us updates. We'll come back to our two guests to continue the conversation. But right now, Emmanuel, thank you for joining us. What is the update in Abuja? Where are you currently, and what is the protest like?
Yes, I'm standing right in the center of Abuja, Maitama specifically, just close to the Unity Fountain, where we have two sets of peaceful protesters holding their independence rally. The first group is the National Association of Nigerian Students, while the second group is, of course, the Youth Council, who are pro-Tinubu. So I have the NANS students here, the Leadership of National Association of Nigerian Students here, who are actually here with me, that we want to speak hello to us. Yeah. So tell us what do we owe this outing today? Yeah. I
am Comrade Akintayo Babatunde Afis, the President of the Senate, National Association of Nigerian Students, and today we are here to celebrate Nigeria, to celebrate our democracy, to celebrate our freedom. 64 years of living the shackle of colonialism. It is worth celebrating, irrespective of where we are. We also need to look about the gains we have gained as a country. We also look at what we have passed through as a country, and we've been here today, alive, hale and healthy. The unity of the country is worth celebrating. So that is why we at the level of National Association of Nigerian Students have came out today to celebrate with ourselves, to show that yes, Nigeria is our country. As a patriotic citizen of this country, we have no other place to go. We have no other country to run to. Nigeria is our own, and that is why we have decided to celebrate the country today.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much. So we also have the other group of peaceful protesters who belongs to the Nigerian Youth Council, and then of course, yes sir. So just tell us to what do you owe this outing here? Thank you.
Pardon?
This is the camera.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, today Nigeria is commemorating the 64th independence anniversary as a sovereign state and nation. And we know the sacrifices made by our patriarchs, our heroes past, those who fought for our independence. So today we have gathered Nigerian youth from across the country, all the 36 states, the state coordinators, the regional coordinators are all here. And we are here to commemorate the 64th anniversary of Nigeria. But beyond the celebrations, we are here to sound a very signaling message that we are the heroes present. We are those who are responsible for the economic emancipation of our country, Nigeria, for the forward voyage of our country, Nigeria. We are here to state it very clear that we must not give room to those who want to foster anarchy, to those who are saying youth should be instrument of riotous protest. You can see we have gathered here. If we were not here,
any angry protests, they are going to be peaceful in all their submission, all their demands. So that's the spirit right now in the Maitama district of Abuja. Thank you.
I don't want to let you go just yet, Emmanuel. I want to ask you a few questions regarding the interactions between the two different kinds of protesters that are there. How are they interacting? Simple question, just let us know.
Sorry, can you repeat the question again, please?
I was asking about the interaction between the two different protesters that are there, two different groups of protesters that are there. It would seem some are pro, and while the others are kind of like not with the whole youth movement from the other side of the divide. So how are these two different groups interacting?
Yes, they are interacting well, very peaceful. You saw the other side is purely students, National Association of Nigerian Students. Most of them are coming from the University of Abuja, some of them are on holidays, and they all converge. And they are just holding, what they claim they are holding is the Independence Day rally, and not a protest. While the other group, which belongs to the National Youth Council, Middle Belt Youth Council, of course, are saying that they are holding their protests in solidarity with President Bola Tinubu. So they are interacting, and this is the only place that the security officials, security personnel have given permission for people to, hold public gathering here in Abuja. As you can see, they are all protected, protected with police, DSS, civil defense officials everywhere, going around to protect everyone that is involved in this protest. So the interaction is very smooth. There's no any clash. Everyone just find their corner and they are doing their thing the way they know how to do it best. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Emmanuel Bagudu is there in Abuja. Thank you for bringing us the report and telling us exactly how it's going on there. There's so much happening, and we're still continuing with our Independence Day broadcast here at News Central, myself and Blessings here. Blessings, we still have our guests on with us, don't we?
Yes, we do. Now, I'm going to follow up on what Emmanuel said, and of course, the two categories of protesters, call it whatever you want, but we know that it's either you're protesting against the government or you're protesting against those protesting against the government. So it's two categories of protesters as far as people are concerned. And Emmanuel, there around Unity Fountain, Maitama, Abuja, did, speak with the two categories of protesters. And I would like to take that up and talk to David. Now, a lot of people would not really understand why. I mean, I don't know if this is the first time, but for me, this is the first time I'm seeing, protesters against protesters in Nigeria. So it's like a clash, and it's been like that back to back now since the End Bad Governance. That's when it was more pronounced. And there we even, heard a lot of speculation. So although some people did come out to say that some of these people were paid to speak against the protesters. But my point is, especially in times like this, during independence celebrations or whatever commemorations we're having as a country, we're always quick to reel out achievements, right? And we saw that again at 7 a.m. West African time this morning, where the president spoke a lot extensively about the achievements that the country has been able to, get. And again, this is not to say that he completely negated or ignored what the country is going through. But my point is, how is it that we have people who are pro the administration and the mode of governance, and we have people who are against it? Is it that we're seeing things from two different perspectives, or what is the factor at play here? Because I don't seem to get it. David?
Well, there's nothing to get, because you don't need to overthink it. It's a very simple issue here, and the issue is that there are still a significant critical mass of young Nigerians who do not love themselves enough or love their children, their born and unborn children enough to see beyond immediate pecuniary compensation. I'll just correct you where you stated that this phenomenon of counter-protesters originated with the End Bad Governance protest. It actually dates back to the NSAS protest back in 2020. I remember the Abuja leg of the protest, especially where I personally witnessed this incident. There were thugs who were actually hired. There were protesters and thugs who were actually hired to not just come in and try and scuttle the rallies we're carrying out. They actually physically attacked us. They slashed the tires of those of us who had cars. They pursued us on foot. They threw sticks and stones at us. A few of us actually got hospitalized. One guy actually had to go through surgery that night. I believe that was the night of October 10 in Abuja. So this phenomenon has been used by the government for the longest time. It's just becoming more refined, I guess, under this particular government. And it's unfortunate that in a country where everyone is feeling the heat, because honestly, if you're not in a government house where you are completely ensconced in, state-funded privilege and totally insulated from everything that is happening on the streets, then you are feeling the heat. Right? Everyone is feeling the heat, up to and including, people, the likes of Aliko Dangote, Femi Otedola. If those people are feeling the heat, then, those fellows who were on camera talking about how there's something to celebrate and yada, 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 those people probably don't know what they're going to eat next week. And that's not an exaggeration. That's a factual reality. But unfortunately, that's the amount of suffering that young Nigerians are going through, apparently is not enough to motivate all of them to, at the very least, learn how to reject short-term gratification because you are thinking about next year or the next decade, or you're thinking about your children's lives. Unfortunately, Nigerians haven't learned that level of self-love yet, and they're still at the level of, that sort of Epicurean philosophy. Let us eat and drink today, for tomorrow we shall die. Which is a very pathetic way to live your life, where everything is all about the here and now. Someone is going to give me 20,000 naira today, now. If I go to this counter protest and, I talk a whole lot of, something, pardon my French, on TV, even if I know very well that everything I am saying, I don't believe the words coming out of my own mouth. And I'm literally, you could literally see his eyes move to it's a sort of, in psychology, when you see someone's eyes move a certain way, the person is sort of reading off a script from memory. You can tell that this person memorized this thing. He's reading off from a script in his head. He doesn't believe a single word coming out of his mouth, right? But because somebody's going to give me 25 or 30,000 naira to do that and go on TV and make a fool of myself, then I'm very happy to do it, because all I can see is that with this 25,000 naira, I'm going to go to a bar and I'm going to buy drinks for my friends this night, and I'm going to buy data, and that's going to be that, because it's really not more than that. And then tomorrow I'll right back to square zero, and then we're back to complaining on Twitter and saying, this country now, wow. But the actual long-term decision-making that will lead to you not having to say this country now, wow, is something that is still beyond a lot of young Nigerians, which is very unfortunate. But as I keep saying, and as I'll reiterate, eventually, when young Nigerians decided that they have had enough, then we will know. Right now, they clearly haven't had enough, so here we are.
David Hundeyin, thank you very much. We are aware that your time might be up and that we have to let you go, but thank you very much for your very insightful comments here regarding the situation of Nigeria. And of course, like I said from before, that lesson on religion and the impact on Nigerian democracy. I think we have to talk about that one, maybe during the weekend sometime on Breakfast Extra. Yes, I just plugged our show.
I knew that. I just decided
But thank you very much, David. Precious, we're going to keep you, and I want to ask...
Thank you for having me.
Yes. I want to ask you a very interesting question here, Precious. Now, the president, during his speech for this morning, talked about the rising cost of living in Nigeria, and he was almost short of pulling down his cheek and sticking out his tongue and say, you are not the only ones going through it. The entire world. It's a global effect. Everybody's experiencing these rising costs of living. So you people should chill. Now, I'm not quoting him word for word, but that's exactly what it sounded like if you ask most Nigerians. Now, the Fearless in October protests are also asking for certain things, and this is a return to the way things were. Even if it was bad from before, they're asking for a return. Food inflation has to go down, and especially a return to the fuel prices we had from before August. Without, however, noting the impact that this will have on the economy. You don't take from one place and expect it to just be okay and say, let's reverse it. Something's got to give. What are your thoughts on that demand, specifically the return or the return of the price hike on petrol?
Okay. It's meaningful. As weird as it sounds, as shameless as it sounds, because of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, we now miss Muhammadu Buhari, ex-President Muhammadu Buhari. So if he knows he cannot push the country forward, why not take you to where it was? Who would have thought in their wildest dreams that they would ever miss the ex-president? One would have thought that there's no how president will not be in prison by now for the level of corruption and decay he left in the country. But here we are, begging. It's as if Nigeria is on a graph of retrogression. It gets worse as new regime comes in. So I'm joining them. I'm joining the protesters to appeal to the president. So please return the country, return the prices of things to where he met them. Since within 1 year, he has showed us that he cannot take it further. He cannot make it better. He is incapable to make it better. His government just cannot do anything for us. Can he now please, I'm sure they all watch News Central, can you people please kindly take it back to where you saw it? Is it possible? I'm joining the protesters to say that is a meaningful request. Another request of the protesters is for the arrested journalists, the arrested protesters from the End Bad Governance protest, the NSAS protest, to be released. Can he please do that? Can he please stop silently, aggressively ignoring us? So personally, I think the requests of the protesters are valid. If you notice, I'm trying so hard, I'm counting my words so I don't say something off. It's so heartbreaking that after 64 years, we are having this kind of conversation.
Okay.
So God will help Nigeria.
Precious, I mean, I would have loved for us to talk about how bad things have become, especially the prices of things in the market. But
please, let's talk about it.
I would love for you to join us on Jasiri one of these days. I just plugged our show, Mazino. But in the meantime, Precious, now I still want to come back to the role of public advocacy. And I asked David that question. I'm very particular about this because you would hear a lot of people say, what can we do as individuals? Now, we have heard time and time again that individuals have the right to ask, to demand accountability from the people in leadership, from the government. And to some extent, we have done that. But then again, looking at it from the other side, we ask these questions and the answers you get almost makes you want to regret even asking the questions. For example, and I'm going to go back to this. Yes, I'm bringing it back. The answer to why we're having to buy the fleet of cars, the expensive cars that we bought, was that the roads were bad. And it's like these answers make you feel dumber than you were before you even asked the question. So that brings me to the point of, do we even, I mean, even in the Constitution, it says that everybody has the right to the information, to know what the government is doing, especially with funds when it comes to the economy. But with the answers that we get for these questions that we ask, do we even continue asking the question? Because it's like the government literally thinks that we are not smart enough to understand what's happening. And so they give us some very vague answers, some very here and there answer. And it's like, it's just a topsy-turvy mode of governance. So I want to get your opinion on what you think, how you think the government is handling, information when it comes to accountability and presenting the citizens with what's actually happening, with the economy.
Ma'am, we can only keep asking these questions. We can't stop asking. That's what they want. That's the game plan. They want us to stop asking questions. They want to frustrate the youth to the extent that whenever they hear protest, they all just get tired and get weary. No, we can't let them win. If we stop asking questions, then we allow them win. Yes, they keep us quiet. Yes, the answers they give to us is so heartbreaking. But regardless, I'm going to answer this question with what my father told me. I asked my dad one time, how is it that there's so much church in the country? There's so much church in our neighborhood. Yes, the crime rate is so high. And you know his response, he said, if there's church everywhere and the crime rate is this much, imagine if there was no church. So I hope that answers your question. If you are asking questions and the country is like this, imagine if we are silent. All right. So the response to that is there's going to be more questions. We're going to keep asking questions.
Okay. Thank you so much for that, Precious. It's still the special Independence Day live broadcast right here on East Central Television. And if you're just joining us, you've missed a lot, but you've not missed everything. So stay with us. We go on a short break. And when we come back, the crucial conversations still continue. All right, it's still the live broadcast, and we've been having a very interesting conversation with Precious. We have some of our correspondents in Abuja who will be joining very shortly, but I want to quickly ask Precious this question, because I know that at the time when I mentioned the prices of things in the market, you were ready to go there, and then we got the go-ahead from our producer. So I want to get your view on the cost of living regarding the price of things in the market. What do you have to say about that? Okay, nice one.
I think that says it all, doesn't it?
It
does. You asked the question. You said something just now that when we ask these questions, most times we almost end up regretting asking because the responses we get is, I don't know. Okay, I wish I could use vernacular.
Please, by all means, go ahead.
Bag of rice, now 120-something thousand. You know, say all these people that they use government money to they buy food, but they know when it is or when it is used. Do you know what that means? That minimum wage, the one where they never implement, no fee afford bag of rice. Fuel in Edo State is about 1,300 naira. That's how they buy fuel. Let's not talk about tomato and pepper and the rest. People are hungry, New Central. Not be this one, what would they do for here? So I have to break it down for people watching to understand that most of us are also in trenches with them. There is hunger in the land. The prices of things have tripled. Insecurity, I don't know if they can hear me. Oh,
yes, we can.
The primary responsibility of government, it is welfare and security. Security first and welfare second. None of it is happening. And that is why you see there is scarcity. People cannot go to their farms because of kidnapping, banditry, and the rest of them. And so the adverse effect of that is scarcity, hunger. I don't know if you understand. The few things that they are able to get from the farmland is now triple in price. The people importing items that Nigeria use, because Nigeria is a consuming state, we don't produce it, we hardly produce anything. The things that are being imported is affected by dollar rate. Dollar to naira right now is about 1,006 something. Pounds to naira is about 2,000 something. So you can imagine the effect in the market. I went to the market, that was some days ago. I had to come back with my money because you can't buy anything. Yes, I bought food from fast food. I didn't even use chicken, it was beef I ordered for. I was shocked that my bill was going about to 10,800 naira. There is hunger in the land. The prices of things are tripled. School fees for 2 children, about 620-something thousand naira. Why? Even to go to government schools is a problem. And this government is parading. They are doing independence parade. I'm watching now. I'm watching able-bodied youths, young men like what we just watched. But they are coming out to say they are supporting Tinubu. Okay, as well. This same NANS, southwest of NANS, declared February that they were going to shut down Nigeria if the government does not do anything about hunger in the land. This same NANS, September 4th, this same year, declared that there's going to be 15 days protest because of the fuel hike. The same NANS now, the Senate part of the NANS is coming out to endorse Mr. President. There's a problem in this country. Hunger is just one of them. Gullibility is the second one. I don't know what's going on, but New Central, you need to help us preach the good news of hunger. It is happening. We can't restock. Companies are leaving Nigeria. Let's not even talk about medicals. Have you asked for the price of augmentin? I went to buy paracetamol and they told me 600 naira. I didn't buy. It's better that headache just kills me. Because why am I buying paracetamol for 600 naira? I'm talking about a sachet, not a full pack. This is where we have found ourselves. And it's as though the government is investing in people who would rather fight us that is appealing for their assistance. I don't know if that makes sense to you. The government would rather pay opposition protester than to invest in things that will actually stop protests in Nigeria. That is where we have found ourselves.
Well, thank you very much, Precious. At this point, we're going to let you go. Thank you very much for sticking with us for over an hour to have this conversation. And yes, we did hear your word here at News Central. Help preach the good news of hunger. It's a very paradoxical statement, but I get what you mean. But thank you very much, Precious, for joining us for our Independence Day broadcast.
Thank you, Precious.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Blessings. I don't know if you agree with me, but that was very, very interesting there. Good news of hunger. Being somebody who grew up actually preaching from door to door, that's a very upside down, but it is a reality.
It is the reality, and it's
reality.
a sad one, honestly, because looking at a country that has gone from having Gary as the common man food to the luxury food, boom. It's a problem. But anyways, right now we have Emmanuel Bagudu, who is in Abuja, to give us more updates on the protest. Emmanuel, if you can hear us, what's going on in Abuja right now, and what area are you in?
See security officials everywhere. Of course, some are just doing their rally, of course, in solidarity, just like we said earlier, in solidarity with the federal government. So it's so surprising to find out that it was been expected that there will be protests. And of course, there are protests and opposition to the government, but unfortunately, we find out that people are coming out here to support the government and they're speaking a different language, showing that they are in solidarity with the government. So it's so surprising and so shocking. And then that happens where you see police officers protecting these protesters, going around to make sure that the protest has not been hijacked. But in a situation whereby you see someone coming out to say he's going to protest against hunger, against bad governance, that is where you see security officials, brandishing their guns and all, trying to threaten people. That's what's happening in Abuja right now. The story is different, unlike the September protest. Yeah.
Okay. Emmanuel, from earlier we saw the use of gas canisters and people running here and there. We were wondering exactly where that was, when it was, and what was happening. Please, could you elaborate?
Yes, that happened in Utako. Sometimes around 8 o'clock, between 8 and 9 o'clock. Those are the people that were actually protesting against the government. So those are the people that are being dispersed with tear gas canister. Just like we said, you saw the one we just here in Maitama, a very peaceful environment, a highbrow area where a lot of government officials reside. Peaceful protests going on here. But if you dare come out to say you're going to protest against the government, of course, tear gas canister will follow suit. Tear gas canister will be used against you, and of course some other dangerous weapons. So that is what happened. Those people that were dispersed by the police were people protesting against the government somewhere around Utako, Bega area of the Federal Capital Territory. Yeah.
Okay, so the difference between these two protests, one seems to be peaceful, the other one is not. Now, which is which? The pro-government protest, obviously seems to be peaceful, and the anti-government protest is what we can see with the tear gas being fired here and there. Am I correct?
Yes. The anti-government protest is being suppressed. As you can see, even the police and then even the security officials are being used, to promote this pro-government protest. You saw the drama that just happened behind me. Police officers, carrying national flag, playing with power bikes, go around Maitama, around Abuja, showing solidarity, all in the name of celebrating the independence. So that is what they use to suppress those who are actually protesting against the government. So those are two different groups. You can barely see the anti-government protesters because they have been overwhelmed by those who are actually protesting in support of the government. Since the one you just saw, you saw a policeman that just nearly brushed me while standing here on a bike, going around with power bikes. So it's so overwhelming and so confusing right now in Abuja. Yeah.
All right, Emmanuel Bagudu, thank you so much. And we did see the drama that happened, and that was a close shave. So please stay safe, and we'll come back to you to see what's happening in Abuja. Thank you once again. Very shortly, we'll be going to Bettina, who's still in Ojota. But in the meantime, let's take a look at this. Now, as Nigeria celebrates its 64th independence anniversary, the nation faces unprecedented security challenges. Heightened banditry, kidnappings for ransom, and attacks from armed groups have overshadowed the country's years of struggles for development in various regions. So, Umaru Kirawa, News Central's correspondent, assesses Nigeria's security challenges and the possible solutions after 64 years. Do take a listen.
An historic moment to Nigerians, a day they got independence from their colonial masters, Britain. It used to be a smooth sail for the people to traverse from any part of the country to another without fear. Besides the Nigerian Civil War, which lasted from 1967 to 1970, political, ethnic and religious tensions, the Niger Delta militancy, characterized by pipeline vandalism, kidnappings among others, as well as farmer-herder crisis, have continued to be a major source of security threat to the nation.
I'm very concerned because I even have a victim which was kidnapped last semester while going back to Abuja. So the government, especially our government, supposed to put hand in this kidnapping of a thing. The securities on the road, it's not tight, so they should tighten the securities for us to be safe.
The high rate of kidnappings throughout Nigeria by criminal bandit groups who fearlessly boast of their activities on various social media networks remains a million-dollar question on security intelligence and response.
It is unfortunate that at 64, the level of security in Nigeria is continuously deteriorating. This is a very sad development. It is no longer news that people can no longer travel from all parts of the country without fear of being attacked, kidnapped, or robbed by some elements, bad elements in the society. And it is sad that we continue to prioritize this as a campaign promise.
A professor of history from the University of Maiduguri in Nigeria's northeast speaks on the current happenings and where the country got it wrong.
In those days, in the pre-76 time, the regional institutions are important. But you say that they don't have any to do governance, they are not relevant, and what have you, had now given us this, has contributed to this vulnerability in security challenges. You said there is free movement of labor, free movement of people with this ECOWAS, that even if there is ECOWAS, we allow people to move, but people have to register their presence.
Although Nigeria has been ranked as the 8th country by the Global Terrorism Index, the nation has been enlisted for 5 consecutive times as the 3rd most terrorized nation, occasioned by the over 13 years of Boko Haram that led to the death of thousands and displacement of over 2 million people. Bringing an end to this disturbing situation has been the major campaign promises for succeeding administrations in Nigeria.
For too many years, Nigeria has faced dangerous, shadowy enemies whose sole aim is to overturn our democratic and peaceful way of life. Despite their efforts, we hold dear to the vision of a nation stronger yet but just, prosperous yet compassionate, dynamic yet tolerant and inclusive. But I assure you, the hope is here.
Meanwhile, one security concern, particularly in the northeast, recovering from the ashes of more than a decade insurgency, is the massive surrender of Boko Haram terrorists. The government says rehabilitating and reintegrating them is the only option. Improving the security situation in Nigeria, according to analysts, requires a holistic approach.
How do we elect our leaders? The election, the process leading to the election itself is corruption, is corrupt. People are getting their ways of leadership through what? Money. Money politics. This has to be downplayed. The system whereby you even elect people based on what credentials, based on what capacities, what are their own qualifications is very important.
We must revisit our traditional institutions, empower them to the extent that they have that power, that prerogative to interrogate any stranger or any strange face they are not familiar with in a community. And the Borno model has worked very well, because when Boko Haram was at the peak, the CJTF was a model to reckon with. The CJTF collaborated. Every youth as at that time belonged to the Civilian Joint Task Force, and we saw how this has been able to address our security concerns.
With a population estimated at over 232 million people as at July 2024, according to the United Nations, Nigeria continues to struggle for the restoration of peace within its borders 64 years after independence. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Well, on one hand, it's a celebration for Nigeria as Nigeria turns 64 years of independence. And of course, on the other hand, protests in Lagos and Abuja. And of course, we have our correspondents at these locations. We'll be bringing them to you in just a short while. We're taking a look at what Nigeria has achieved in the past 64 years and what her citizens are actually asking for, agitating for a return to what it was, even if what it was wasn't the best. We still have Bettina Nweli on standby at Ojota, where protests are happening currently, and we'd like to take an update on what's been happening. Bettina, once again, it's afternoon now. Good afternoon. So do tell us exactly what the update is on your location.
Good afternoon. All right, we still have this place swamped with security officials. If you look towards my right-hand side, we have about, if I'm not mistaken, 15 vehicles from the Nigerian police, the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps. A lot of security officials are here at the Freedom Park to make sure that they maintain law and order. Now, from the few people that I have spoken to, if you look into the park, you can see certain people who are wearing green face caps, face hats. From the information that I hear that these people refused allowance of entrance of citizens earlier in the morning to come in to gather and, do their peaceful protest inside the park. But these people refused to allow anybody into the park. But moving on to other things, the protest seems to be winding down here already, because you can see ahead people who are just coming, another faction of protesters. The Nigerian police are trying to make sure that they deal with them at the far end and make sure that they don't cause any sort of insecurity here at Ojota. But other than that, every other person, fellow Nigerians who were here earlier to make sure that they add their voice to the protest, have all dispersed, and it's almost business as usual. If you come back to the express on the main road, you can see that people are going about their daily activities and, just trying to make sure that they do have a good Independence Day, no matter how bad or how tough the situation seems to be.
All right, Bettina, I would also like to know, in Abuja, for example, there is the pro-government movement currently going on. Do we have anything like that at Ojota as we speak?
No, we don't. We spoke to the Commissioner of Police earlier on for Lagos State, and all he said was that he and his team were here to make sure that they maintain law and order. Other than that, no government official has been here to address or to even see or oversee what is going on as regards this peaceful protest.
Bettina, I'm going to go back to your first report when you told us that these individuals or certain individuals were inside the park and trying to stop protesters from getting into the park. Can you identify who these individuals are that are inside the park and stopping other individuals from entering? Who are they exactly?
Well, these people seem to be union workers. They seem to be union workers who are originally stationed around Ojota axis here, who work here, who seem to work in the park. So they have authority over who comes into the park or who doesn't come into the park. So Basically, they are Lagos state workers. You can see them on the swings. In fact, if you look into the park right now, you can see that they are the only ones that have access into the park.
Yeah, we can see that. They're actually having fun on the swings and everything. Now, regarding the police presence, are the police suppressing the protest? Because you did tell that they are trying to deal with people who are trying to gain entrance into the park. When you said that, did you mean that they are suppressing the protests, or are they just simply helping out, guide, and make sure that law and order persists?
Well, I can't categorically answer that because I wasn't here. Like I told you, it's information that I got from protesters who were around, who did say that they came here earlier in the morning. Now, if you had followed us from the beginning, this protest started from Ikeja Under Bridge. Now, according to this lady in particular, she didn't go to Ikeja Under Bridge. She came to Ojota straight because she wanted to join the protest from the park, just like the information she got last night on the news, was. But getting here, she says she was denied entrance into the park, and they told her that if she's not coming with those other protesters, they're not going to allow anyone to get into the park. And this sort of also defeats, what authorities have been saying prior to this protest, saying that they want people stationed at the Freedom Park so that they can curtail any kind of incident or occurrence that may come out of it. But if you say that you want people at the Freedom Park and then you're denying them access into that park, it almost seems as if they are trying to fight back against the right of citizens of Nigeria to actually have freedom to gather and to protest.
Okay, Bettina, thank you so much. That's the update from Ojota on the October 1st hashtag fearless protest. And so far it's been peaceful. And thank you for giving us the updates. We'll definitely circle back to see how it's going. But in the meantime, we'll go on a short break. It's still the Independence Day live broadcast. And when we come back, we'll take a look at what people are saying on the streets. But till then, stay with us.
Celebrate Nigeria's independence. We take a moment to reflect on the memories that shape us as a people, from cultural achievements to personal victories. Our history, well, it's filled with moments that make us proud to call ourselves Nigerians, isn't it? In this special Independence Day Vox Pop segment, we hit the streets and we ask people, what in your opinion is the most memorable Nigerian moment? Or is there a total lack of pride for Nigeria? Well, let's find out together.
If you tell me about what I can recall that will make me to celebrate Nigeria at 64, I tell you there's nothing for me to recall, because I've passed through all pains, in this country till this very time. Whether education, whether feeding, whether working, whether anything. You understand? So I don't have anything.
When Nigeria at 50, I know that all Nigeria, they are very happy that they are 50, and they celebrate this very well. Say understand. What I remember that when Nigeria is 50, by that time, people are happy that Nigeria is grown. But now, instead of Nigeria grow, we are coming down.
We have good weather. So as long as we have good weather, and everybody believes that you can jam your luck at any time, because hope is everywhere. So that is just the only reason. That was giving one. Another good memory that I have about Nigeria is during the time of Obasanjo. Those people, they bring in good people. When they know that they cannot do it alone, what they did is they look at people that are intelligent. People like Okonjo-Iweala, they bring Soludo, they bring him. Those are the people that know we cannot do this. These are the areas where we have the problem, and they come and give us solution. That time we are not lacking. When Yadua came in, Yadua looked at what is the problem of this country. What he did first was he reduced the fuel price. Now that time we enjoy, but this time around, instead of experiencing reduction, we are experiencing double, not even triple.
A Nigerian man will do everything to get money. Look at our lives, look at the security, economy, all zero. And to worsen it is the current government. He promised all heaven and earth. Look at what is. Even Buhari, we castigated Buhari when he was in power. But now we are celebrating Buhari self. Is it supposed to be like that?
I'm not proud in this country yet. So things are going wrong, and I don't know why things are going like this. Is it because of the government are not doing their things well, the way they're supposed to do it? Or we Nigerians, we are not helping each other?
We are just
moving by the special grace of God. So that is just it.
Well, in the Vox Pop, I did hear that one of the citizens who spoke said that the devil is blindfolding the government. But word on the street is that the government has hired the devil. Because now it looks like the devil works for the government.
That's a new one. That's very deep. I wonder who's bankrolling this, new hire.
I mean, that's on a lighter note. I would say that I know that you have hinted and shaded me and thrown salt at me throughout
this age thing again.
I mean, I have to. It's obvious. You've made it so obvious. But to be honest, I do not remember when Nigeria was, good. I do not remember when we enjoyed using 1 kobo or when the naira was, not like I wasn't born then, I just don't remember. I was alive.
Well, let me regale you of a time when my uncle would give me 50 kobo and ask me to go get a bottle of soda. It was that good once. 50 kobo will get you a bottle of soda. Not just that, if you had 100 naira, you're feasting for an entire weekend. It was that beautiful. And I do remember a time when you could just simply be assured that when you get home, there's power. You're assured that when you get home, you're safe to go out at 12, 1, 2 a.m. in the morning. It was a beautiful time. And I'll tell you that I believe that the 80s, irrespective of the eventuality that happened with the military rule, it was far better than what we have here today. I know we asked a couple of our guests regarding their differentiation or what they thought about the differentiation between what it was back then and what it is now, and they say it's the same. But for me, it was a much more pleasant experience. Maybe because I was a child and I had no worries in the world, but still, when I think back about the 80s, and I was born in 1981, I'm not going to hide that fact. Yes, I am 43, but it's gotten progressively worse. My best memories are from the 80s, and honestly, when I look back at movies these days, I say, that was the Nigeria that I know. That's the Nigeria I want us to go back to.
I mean, obviously, I have no recollection of the 80s because I wasn't born then. But this I know in the 90s, at least. I know that then when I went to school, 30 naira could sustain you for breakfast, lunch, well, not dinner, but yeah. And, you could, I'm not saying buy snacks. You could buy rice. I remember then, oh, mommy, I want to buy rice and, beans. And then it was a substantial meal that could hold a child. And it's sad because then children did not really know what the economic situation was because there was nothing to worry about. But now children have to, I'm not going to say my age, by the way.
I hear you guys. I hear the producers asking Blessing to tell her
I'm not going to say my age, by the way.
So we get this in context.
Yeah. but you should know that there are 2 different generations here, and at least it was better than what it is now. It's sad because now children have to learn the reality, not because they have to participate in making sure that things are better for them, but because they have to understand why they can't get the luxury that they want. And I'm hoping, this makes me sound like a broken record, but I'm hoping that it gets better.
Well, let's say thank you to our Gen Z baddie here.
I just knew it was better.
Who has successfully hosted with a classic millennial, and I say classic because I was right at the cusp of actually being the other generation from before. But it's been interesting. Having this very interesting broadcast with Blessings this morning, and I'm looking forward to more with you on this platform.
Hopefully not. Anyways, there you have it. Nigeria captured through the stories of everyday citizens. Nigeria's past may have been rich, its present full of potential, and the future, well, that's up to all of us to make unforgettable. So stay with us as we continue this special Independence Day broadcast with other shows, of course. And this is my cue to sell Jasiri to you. If you want to know what's happening with the everyday man, Jasiri is the best show to watch on New Central Television. But of course, every other show has its own, spice.
Yes, and of course, if you want to know what's happening in general, I'll stay tuned to the weekend when Breakfast Extra kicks in from 8 a.m. But before then, of course, just stay glued here on New Central TV. My name is Mazino Appeal.
And my name is Blessings Musugu. Do have a wonderful rest of your day.